In a means of saying thank you for a year of help and assistance, the United Nations Command Security Force, Joint Security Area, and the Swedish officers of the Neutral Nations Supervisory Commission held a Fasching reception Saturday at Camp Kitty Hawk Sanctuary Club. Over 300 USFK, ROC, and Korean dignitaries attended the Fasching, which, as the commander of the UNC Security Force, Joint Security Area, Lieutenant Colonel Rod Burns explained, was held for 3 reasons. First, to thank those who've supported the unit during the past year. Secondly, to give everyone an appreciation of what the security force does. And last but not least,
we want you to meet many of our officers, NCOs, and soldiers, because they are the outstanding people that make this command work.
After opening remarks were made, students from Seoul's Korean Traditional Music National High School performed many Korean folk dances. While most of the guests were being entertained by the dancers, some were getting guided tours of Panmunjom and the demilitarized zone. Soldiers and dependents alike got to visit the MAC building and Pagoda Tower and get a brief glimpse of our communist neighbor to the north. The reception wrapped up with a gourmet buffet prepared by Swiss Chief Warrant Officer Paul Oberle, a member of the Neutral Nations Supervisory Commission. Fasching 86, just the UNC Security Force JSA and the Swiss and Swedish officers of the Neutral Nations Supervisory Commission's way of saying thanks. Army Sergeant Mark Cummings, AFKN News, Camp Kitty Hawk. The logistics section of the United Nations Command Security Force, JSA, were the proud recipients yesterday of the first annual 8th Army Supply Excellence Award. USFK Chief of Staff Major General James Ellis presented the award to Captain William Mason, Logistics OIC, during a ceremony outside Ballinger Hall at Camp Kitty Hawk. It's the logistics section's job to make sure property books are kept up to date. They also handle ammunition requests, conduct issue and turn-in of supplies, and provide fuel for vehicles. Logistics NCOIC Sergeant First Class William Simmons Jr. says it takes an all-around top-notch soldier to keep up with the demands of the section.
We also have to be, physically fit too, We just can't just say, get up in the morning, go to the office. We have to get up when everybody else get up, do everything everybody else do, and be qualified with the weapon. Beat PT test. We all have to be very qualified here.
Although not attached to the section, Staff Sergeant Charles Pointer, Motor Sergeant of the JSA Motor Pool, was also evaluated with the section and played a key part in winning the award. Soon, Pointer and the logistics section will again undergo an evaluation as they compete for the Department of the Army's Supply Excellence Award. Army Sergeant Mark Cummings, AFKN News, Camp Kitty Hawk. Army Sergeant Mark Cummings with the Prime Minister inside the DMZ. While in the Republic, Prime Minister Thatcher took time to get a first-hand look of Panmunjom and the DMZ. The Prime Minister's visit made it a very special day. According to public affairs officials, it marked the first time any British Prime Minister had visited the demilitarized zone. After landing at the Joint Security Area helipad, the Prime Minister was transported to Ballinger Hall for a briefing. From there, she visited the MAC building, where she was again briefed and fielded questions from the press. Then it was a stroll across to Freedom House, where Mrs. Thatcher got an overall view of the Truce Village. The Prime Minister wrapped up her visit with a stop at Checkpoint 5, where she peered out into North Korea and was shown points of interest by her escorts, including Commander of USFK, General William Livesey. From there, the Prime Minister was escorted back to the helipad, where she boarded a Chinook and left for an evening dinner with Republic of Korea President Chun Doo-hwan. Army Sergeant Mark Cummings, AFKN News, Panmunjom. One Korean War veteran described it as an eerie but unique feeling. After fighting off a communist North invasion some 30 years ago, a group of Korean War veterans and many of their wives visited the truce village of Panmunjom yesterday during their brief stay in the Republic. The veterans, all mayors of small Ohio towns, and their wives were all shown the MAC building, Freedom House, Checkpoint 5, and even got a rare close-up view of the Bridge of No Return. Afterwards, Mr. R.J. Quirk, a veteran and present mayor of Cuyahoga, Ohio, described how it felt being once again face-to-face with the communist North.
Well, I think it's been exciting from the day I arrived, but coming up here is kind of eerie in that it brings back memories of 1951-52 and the seriousness of what happened over here. And at this particular point, I think, is a symbol of the danger that still exists.
Mr. James Munshall, mayor of New Madison, Ohio, fought in the Korean conflict for over 16 months. He later admitted how he felt upon his return to the Rock.
Kind of shaky feelings. I know when our plane touched down in Korea, my wife asked me how I felt, and there just wasn't anything I could say right then that I could really describe it.
Before departing Sunday, the 8 mayors and their wives will take time to, among other things, do a little shopping and visit a Korean folk village. Army Sergeant Mark Cummings, AFKN News, Panmunjom.
Like the Santon River.
The 45 students who participated in a day with UNC, CFC, JSA began their northern tour by being briefed at Camp Kitty Hawk's Ballinger Hall. From there, it was on up to Panmunjom, where the group became acquainted with the MAC building and Freedom House as communist northern soldiers closely observed. The young high school and college students also visited Checkpoint 4 and caught a close-up glimpse of both the Bridge of No Return and the tree where the 1976 axe murders occurred. Later, there was lunch at the JSA Sanctuary Club and a tour through Infiltration Tunnel Number 3. Held twice a year, a day with UNC, CFC, JSA is designed to help dependents and other young adults better understand the mission of U.S. Forces Korea. For Rika Martin, touring Panmunjom was a rare opportunity.
I came up here just to see what it was like to be so close to the communist country and to experience something like this because I had never been so close. Especially living in the States where you live in a free democratic country, and then to be so close to communism was just an experience I couldn't pass up.
In all, the students spent approximately 5 hours in or near the DMZ, but memories of today's tour should last for years. Army Sergeant Mark Cummings, AFKN News, Panmunjom. Down with dope and up with hope. That was just one of the messages Reverend Jesse Jackson touched upon during a tour of Panmunjom over the weekend. Jackson met with ROC government officials last Friday before touring Panmunjom on Saturday. It was at the Truce Village that the civil rights leader got an up-close view of the communist North and addressed questions pertaining to the American military. On the topic of voting within the services, Jackson stressed that service members should use and not give up the privilege to vote.
So everyone that has an ID badge, who has a serial number, must have a voter card to be a good soldier and to be a good American. One of the unique dimensions of being in the American military is that you do not give up your citizenship rights, the right to vote.
After getting briefed, eating lunch, and meeting Camp Bonifas soldiers, Jackson took time to point out the need for a drug-free military. He also spoke of the upcoming Christmas holiday and personally took time to wish Joint Security Area Security Force soldiers a happy holiday season. Serving in the past as a mediator, Jackson believes that with some determination from both the Republic and North Korea, tensions between the two countries can be laid to rest.
There must be a commitment to heal the internal wounds of Korea, and with that united front, they may have different parties and different rivalries, but there must be common ground. And that common ground must be democracy, a will to peace, a will to justice, a will to one Korea.
Army Sergeant Mark Cummings, News Center North, Panmunjom.